Nobody's listening to the boss. Not a wise thing to do on a Friday because I could just have a 5 p.m. staff meeting Pacific time. And everybody's evenings, you tell your friends, I'll see you for dessert.
My Friday's already ruined. I'll be editing all in till 4
Exactly. Enjoy Saturday. Yeah. I'm sure Sunday will be popping off. All right. Hey, there's my first notey. I'm right now warning my staff, warning them that if this is not a great show, I'm holding them all accountable. I want to see increased performance, increased ownership, and I want the show to be better, better, better every single week. I would like this show to be 1% better a week. That is our new credo. 1% better a week. 2% better a week is what I'm going for. 2%. Sorry, 1%. Ridiculous. 2%. That means every 36 weeks. Okay? 2% better a week. Every 36 weeks, the quality of the show will double. Okay? That's it. That's what we're doing here. If you want to phone it in, by all means, I'm sure Fox or some podcasting network has, I don't want to dunk on anybody, has a position for you to phone it in. We are not phoning it in here at this week's start. Sorry. All right. I got to say hi to my noties. Christopher Niblett has obviously set up a bot to snipe the first spot. He is definitely a developer, and he has created some sort of a auto comment bot. Joe Chadori is here again too. Alex Babur is here again. We see him every day. Sam Milky, Jeremy Davidson, Mahnez, MD is here again. Johanna Williams, that's a new name, I think. Toby Zhang, he's always here. Harrison Chase, Paul Miller, Raccoon Bar. That's the first time I'm seeing that. Chester, Sparkchild 82 seems new to me. David Muzamil. If I butchered that, I'm sorry. Pat Chung. Joe Chadhari is here again. Alexander, Akshay, and Q. Wow, so many great noties. Good to see you all. I don't know where my STG is, but I got I got Zen Profit and STG. That's like OGs when you see, you feel good when you see that, right, Nick? Which note do you look forward to most, Nick? Sure, you can come on here. Sure, turn this camera on. Be camera ready, producers. 1, 2, 3 full-time producers on the show, and there's Nick, ready for the big weekend.
Ready today.
Not ready. Not enough gel, huh?
I was going to take a shower, but we got bombarded with clip searching at
it's 2 p.m. on the East Coast. You're not showered. And let's face it, you got to edit all in tonight, and that's getting recorded late. So the chances of you taking a shower this Friday are 0.0. You'll be skipping a day.
I'll find some time. We don't record till later tonight.
Okay, all right. You might find a window. Yeah, okay.
I'll find a window. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So, you got any noties there you like? Who do you look forward to seeing in the noti game?
Yeah, I like hold on. I'm thinking of his name or her. It's a anonymous name. So
it's the metaverse, so who knows? But I mean, it's Zen Profit and STG80.
I like Zen Profit a lot, but I was
so OG.
Someone
if you're an OG, let's
say I can't remember his name. They're not here today.
If you're OG noti, say OG noti. You might be thinking of Toby Zhang, right? Because he's always
I like Toby. Toby, thanks for noticing my couch.
I like Richard Wu. I'll throw a vote.
Oh, really? I know who you like. You like Walton.
My vote's on Patrick.
He's all right.
Oh my gosh.
I'll find my guy.
Who's your favorite noti? Paul Miller? Who do you got, Rachel?
Mine's definitely Patrick, the one that you said had a bot.
Yeah, he's always coming in the shrine.
I found my guy.
Okay.
Surge Dog.
Oh, Surge Dog. Yeah.
Surge Dog's my boy.
Surge Dog Billionaire.
Or girl.
Surge Dog Billionaire.
I love Surge Dog Millionaire.
That was one of the funny poker names. In the early days of poker, I had nothing to do with this. I know I get a lot of credit for nicknames. I did create Queen of Quinoa, the Dictator, and everything else, and Rain Man. But there's one poker game, this really old poker player, I would say his name, but he's an old gambler, and he loses a huge pot to Chamath. And he starts going off because then Chamath turns over like, bottom pair, something terrible, and this person had 2 pair or something. It's just, you're talking about like a very large pot. You beep, you slum dog billionaire. And he calls Chamath slum dog billionaire. And literally, that's what they referred to as Chamath long before he was a billionaire. Like when he was working at Facebook, they were calling him Slumdog Billionaire. There you go.
Hey.
Is that problematic?
No comment.
Okay. I think it's a good story. Nodi storm the beach event at the beach of your choosing. I think it would. I think if I said the next Nodi live stream is coming from this beach in Malibu, and when the Nodi stream comes on, we have a camera on this specific tower. You got to run into the water, and whoever gets in there first is the first Nodi. Let's give something to the first Nodi. Or like maybe pick somebody randomly from the first 4. Actually, it's not a bad idea. If we are having bots or something like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, take the top 5 Nodis, Christopher, Joe, Alex, Babor, and Sam, and take those first 5. If any of them have won already, they don't get anything. And then pick one of them at random and send them their choice of Peking Duck from Goldbelly, some anchor shit, or my Ember mug. Those are the 3 things I really like. Yeah. I also like the Apple Watch. I'll be honest. I like the Apple Watch and I like my Rad Bike, but those are $400 and $2,000. So I'm not sure I'm putting those up here, but maybe if Rad Bikes becomes a sponsor, maybe they would give it away. Maybe we'll have, maybe if Goldbelly comes on as a sponsor, I'll just give away Goldbelly to the Nodi gang every day. I think everybody loves that. All right, Nodis, let's get the show started here. So if want to be famous, buy followers and viewers on bigfollows.com. Sarah Kevin 58, add to blocked and restream chat. No, we don't want to do that. We want to go on Twitch and get that spammer. Okay. Yeah, Apple Watch sounds good. Exactly. All right. We ready to start? Let's start the show.
Yeah, we're ready. Just one thing, Charles, I'm uploading right now the 2 CNBC clips for Jason today. They should be up any minute.
All right.
And if they don't upload, I'll play them on QuickTime and just screen share.
Let's get started.
But you're good to go with the Upstart story.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready to go. You tell me when Charles is ready. I would like the audience to see it be nice and smooth, if possible. I mean, this guy, he took the L, right, Nick? Is that the right? Am I using the...
Yes.
The L?
Well, when you consider the context of it being at a peak of 390 and then dropping 35%.
Oh, yeah, that's when he took the L. That's when he took the second L.
Well, he's been taking the L for 28 days.
It's basically L from hell.
October 15th.
It's the L from hell. He's just taking a perpetual L. All right, we just hit 100 messages. Can everybody do me a favor on YouTube? If you could slam the thumbs up button for your boy, for your squad here, producing content for you every day in real time. I just hit that thumbs up button for your squad. Hit the subscribe if you haven't. Turn on notifications, but you've probably done that. But really just need everybody to hit the thumbs up on this live video, because every maybe 20 people who do, it winds up getting another like 20 or 30 people, and then the cycle gets going, and then it goes viral. Okay, great job, everybody. And somebody tell me, how many votes up do we have? How many thumbs up do we have on YouTube right now? 11 on the
Justin
thumbs up.
or Rachel,
Wow, that's low.
All right.
Let's get it up to at least 25. How many people are in there? 100? Usually we get like 100 people, right? Why the hell is Jake House so calm, so unusual?
I see 42 likes, or likes on YouTube.
Oh, okay, maybe yours didn't refresh. Okay, that's good. Out of how many people watching? 50?
96, I think is what it said.
We can get that up. We can get that way up. Yeah, okay. All right, let's get started. Is the clip ready, Charles?
I have
the clip's ready.
Clip ready. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We were waiting on you. Okay, 3, 2. Okay, and our first story, I can't believe I missed this, but in a clip from mid-October that resurfaced in my feed today, investor Mark Minervini whiffed on describing what the startup Upstart does. This is the greatest CNBC hit of all time. It is one of the great all-time pandemic Zoom videos I've ever seen. And, this has got to be in the running for top 10, maybe top 5 live TV moments, like the one where the guy was reporting on CNN and the 2 kids came running in, or his daughter came running in and stomping her feet, which is just, I think that's number 1 for live forever. Or maybe the kid with the turtles. That was the other one. I like turtles. That's definitely in the top 5. So this is in the running.
I like Totos.
I like dodos. Oh
I like dodos.
I like dodos. I mean, it's crazy. But this is, I believe, and virality and internet legends. This could be a Mount Rushmore. I know I sound like I'm getting ahead of myself, like saying Kevin Durant's going to be Mount Rushmore. I know. But I'm getting excited. I'm going there. I'm jumping the fence. That's it. Okay. I'm just absolutely losing my mind on this clip. So I think that's as much of a buildup. You got to watch the whole 1 minute clip. You're going to show this to 10 friends. Let's roll the tape.
Money in right now include Upstart, that is one, Tesla, MGM, and AIG. Why those four, all of which you've bought within, well, basically this week, except Tesla, end of last month?
Yeah, so, well, Upstart's up about 25% just in 4 days since we bought it. We bought it on about 4 days ago. So that's actually made a nice little move in the short term, probably a little extended right now, but longer term, that's a good looking name. Very powerful, very strong earnings. These stocks are
What do they do?
really
I don't even know them. What do they do?
Excuse me?
What does Upstart do?
Well, I'm sorry.
What kind of company is it?
Yeah, I'm not. You're breaking up.
Oh, well, I guess we've got an audio problem here, Mark. I'm sorry. I do know MGM, I do know Tesla, and I do know AIG, but a 25% move in a week is pretty good for the company Upstart. Thank you, Mark, for your time. We'll have you back soon. Appreciate it.
They will not be having Mark back anytime soon. What you saw there was, he's having a panic attack. Obviously, he's recommending a stock on national television without even knowing what they do. I mean, this is the height of insanity. You literally could just visit their website and know what they do. Do you do any prep for coming on CNBC? When I first started doing CNBC hits, I would get up in the morning and 2 hours before I was going to be on, so 8 a.m. I'd be on at 6 a.m. I would start a thread on SMS with some of the inside team and some of the launch team. So maybe one or two analysts and then one or two people from launch. So you had 3 or 4 people. And then I would say, here are the topics I want to talk about. Give me facts. And then give me what you think some of the early reactions are that are notable on Twitter. In other words, other people's hot takes. So I would come in hot. And then I just had a very easy strategy when I was on CNBC. I'd say, okay, I'm going to explain in the most basic terms possible how what's going on. In other words, just explain what the story is. So if it was, Disney versus Netflix for streaming supremacy years ago, I explained, hey, this is what the benefit to Disney is going to be when they have a direct relationships with customers, as opposed to having it mitigated by Netflix and cable companies. And then I would make a prediction, right? So it's like explain, frame the issue, and then make a prediction. I never really thought about it that scientifically, but anyway, that was the system I came up with. This person did nothing. I mean, I'm now in some people say in his defense, he like trades, based on momentum in charts, but still you would want to know what the company does. Of course. Nobody's just looking at a chart and making a bet. Maybe there's some computers or high frequency traders doing that, but that's not what he is. And what you can tell is he says like, I don't know. And then he's like, I think, there's a problem here. And all that pausing. And then I think the anchor is trying to figure it out. And then somebody said in the anchor, the producer said, he doesn't know. He's having a panic attack. We got to cut the video. There's no audio problem because the video is perfect. We all know the video goes first. Zoom will prioritize audio every time. So it's the Zoom that is the bit of the tell that, and it's just obvious. So, I mean, in one way I feel bad for the guy. In the other way, I feel like this guy is doing like serious damage in the world by giving people advice or talking about stuff and trying to be an expert when he doesn't know what the company does. I mean, it's fairly obvious what happened here. I mean, I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. In this case, man, it's not a game, folks. It's not a game here. This is people's money. It could be their livelihood. This could be their future, their children's future. It's not a game when it comes to finance. Like, be thoughtful. That's what I try to do here every day on the show. Like, if something is a scam, if it's Nikola, or if you think something is a scam like Tether and they're starting to get fines and there's a lot of red flags, like, well, let's talk about that and let's be honest about it. But I mean, whoa, somebody might buy the stock based on this guy going on making 25% in 4 days and he doesn't know what the company does. I mean, it's just so deranged. He was previously the president of an institutional research firm in New York, but it does not say where he worked on his resume. And then he wrote 2 books. And this is from his bio on his website, in fact. And so he wrote 2 books, Trade Like a Stock Market Wizard and Think and Trade Like a Champion. So he's written 2 books. So he's literally giving advice. And interestingly, Minervini sells investment advice. So he doesn't know what the company does. He lies about the AV in a panic. So, I don't want to be too cruel here. I mean, I understand it's a panic moment. Live TV is not easy. It's not for everybody. But he's selling his investment advice apparently for $1,000 a month or $6,000 a year on his website. And October 15th was Upstart's peak at $390 a share. The stock has fallen 35% in 28 days since he made his legendary appearance. For those unaware, Upstart is a phenomenally simple business. They're a lending platform, right? Lending money, and they use AI apparently to help people get better loan terms. And so like your education and cost of living, they basically try to project your credit worthiness, i.e. like a FICO score might, but they're using AI to do that. Went public in December of 2020, stock has gone up 8.6 times that amount. Crazy. Trading at $254 a share, $20 billion market cap. They did $228 million in revenue in Q3, which was up 3x, right? So those are, we've talked about this before on the program, growth company, 20, 30% year over year. When you start seeing 2 to 3x, that usually means the company is in its, highest growth phase in terms of percentage, but usually it's on a much smaller number. So growing 30% when you have 10 billion in revenue is a lot of money. Growing 10%, growing 30% when you have 10 billion is, 300. Growing 30% when you have 10 billion would be $3 billion. That's a lot of cash. Growing 30% when you have $1 billion in revenue, it's only 300 million. You get the idea. And so you got to take this into account, like, the scale of the revenue here, but still it's very impressive, which means they're, on close to $1 billion run rate. And so they charge an origination fee on the loan amount like anybody else. And they'll charge a late fee and other nonsense, but pretty basic business. And if an investor can't describe what a company does on CNBC, that's a bit of a tell. I would say, I wouldn't blame CNBC for this person not being prepared. It's his job primarily. I will say, whoever the booker was, I might know the booker, they might book me for shows. You do have to have a red flag out now for people who are selling courses or make their money primarily from selling stuff rather than making bets, right? So, and I what these folks do is they make it seem like their primary business is the trading, but the real business is selling the courses. And so I could understand a producer, getting hoodwinked here or maybe being rightly confused because they tend to put out I make, all this money from investing or real estate and I'm just printing money. But, on the side, I do this thing where I ask poor people or middle-class people to give me $20,000 and manipulate them, whatever it is. So it's gross, but hilarious in another way. God, sometimes I wonder if I'm being too cruel in my estimation of what just happened in that video, but that was rough. It's rough. I mean, that guy's been taking L's for a month on this thing, and I just found out about it today. So, I just think it's one of those memes that's just going to keep coming back. Yeah, incredible. All right,
I would compare it to how you, what happens when one of the producers on our show doesn't know a figure from 2018 Q2. You're like, well, get the figure. This guy went on CNBC. He doesn't know what the business does.
Just to give you some insight in how I run this show, 3 full-time producers, literally 3 full-time producers, Rachel, Justin, Nick, they do a great job producing the show. If they don't have last year's number, or they haven't done the percentage difference between the last 2 or 3 years' numbers, or they haven't taken the number of customers and divided it into the valuation, I expect them to not only get me all the correct numbers, I expect them to do some back of the envelope math and maybe add a little bit on top of that to come up with some ideas or themes. Knowing what the company does, come on. It's just astounding to me. All right. Also on CNBC today, just a thank you to my friend, John Fort. He gave me a shout out on my Disney takes from years ago. So I didn't remember exactly what I said, but here's 26 seconds from John Fort this morning. So here's 26 seconds from John Fort this morning.
I have to say, speaking of virtual worlds, today Disney also announcing a series of NFTs featuring its characters. Guys.
Yeah. Julia, maybe I'm going to regret this, but I got to give Jason Calacanis credit for this vision, right, which I think he laid out with us on Squawk Alley before it was Tech Check a couple years ago, about how Disney Plus and subscriptions, parks, tying that together with the digital world, et cetera, et cetera.
So, thank you, John. I mean, it's very nice of you to even remember that. And I do remember the conversation now. I did say, if I remember correctly, listen, and this is when I used to go into the studio, and this is when I was explaining earlier in the show, that I would prepare for an hour. So when I would be driving up to the show, I would either hit the conference call button and get all those people on the phone, while I'm driving to the studio before getting hair and makeup. They did the best they could. And, I'd be listening to them, and I would riff, and I would even practice sometimes saying out loud the facts. And I would just try to keep 3 or 4 facts, that I thought were the most relevant, but they would give me 20. And so it was just this great process, right? And so I think that was the result of why they kept asking me to come back, and they were like, hey, you want to be an official contributor? It could have been a paid situation. I was like, I'll just, I don't need the money from it coming on podcast, but I'll just come on like every couple of weeks. And, but they started having me on once or twice a week at the peak. And so let's play the clip.
Talked about this last year, that it would be an incredible opportunity at some point for Disney to be able to collect credit cards and email addresses and go direct to consumers. They were, of course, selling their content to Netflix and other services, and that was a good model. But if you look at what happens long term, when you put an intermediary like Netflix in between you and the content, and that intermediary decides, hey, we can make content too, and it turns out they're highly competent at it, and Amazon decides to make their own content, then all of a sudden you're losing that end consumer. You don't have a direct connection to them, and it's a major risk factor for the network. But ESPN owns the greatest IP in the world. It's the greatest collection of IP in the world. And I think actually
ESPN?
when they start going direct, Disney and ESPN have some of the best content in the world. And so Disney with ESPN, with Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, and that whole collection, including the Disney assets, of course, the original movies, they have an incredible, incredible collection. And when they go direct, it will be very easy for them to get tens of millions of people to subscribe to that service.
Will it be very easy, though? Jason, I'm wondering, though,
yeah.
you've got ESPN on the one hand, but then you've also got kind of Marvel and Lucasfilm, and then you've got like Disney Junior type stuff. It doesn't seem like all of that fits under a single subscription. So do you have to sell them each separately, and do you end up with subscription fatigue unless there's something like a cable bundle that authenticates for all of them at once?
No, I think that Disney is the one company that could produce, a top 3 offering. So they'll be right up there with Amazon and Netflix.
Yeah. So listen, a couple of notes there. One, how much better do I look now? 20 pounds. I mean, my face looks so much fatter than, because 4 years ago, I was probably 198 in that, and I'm 179 now. So, wow. Yeah. Everybody should try to lose 20 pounds. You'll look better on TV. That is actually really hard to look at yourself on TV when you're fat. That's very difficult for me, but at least I was like smart. And it's pretty obvious to anybody. I don't give myself too much credit here. I think people were just looking at Disney and thinking like, how could Disney's business get any better? And it'd be like, if they had 100 million people's credit cards and one-click purchasing, and, I don't know, 50 million people using their app every day, that would be a lot better. In other words, they would have a massive distribution channel. They would have Cablevision. They would have DirecTV. They would have like a pipe into everybody's home. Well, that was the magic of apps. Now, listen, 4 years ago, the idea that Disney was going to challenge Netflix and even to be technically competent was kind of laughable. But, the big folks, the big traditional companies, they kind of lumber, but man, they're kind of like these giant elephants. Like, they might move very slow, but when they do, like, it's a big footprint, right? It's a lot of weight coming down. So they'll move slow, but you don't want to be under them when they walk over you. And so, just thanks for remembering the conversation, John. We don't give each other credit for this kind of stuff. And Disney Plus worldwide users today, 118. And I still stand by my belief that we will soon live in a world where, the Netflixes and the Disneys will have 250 to 500 million paid subscribers globally. And, you start thinking about that math and the budgets it creates for creating content, at but $10 a month for each of those accounts. And listen, there might be some places in the emerging world where they'll get $2 a month in US dollars or $4 a month, right? It may not sustain the $14 or $12 like you get here in the US for these things. That's why I put it at 10. It's an awful lot of cash. I mean, that's an awful lot of cash. If there were 500 million people paying $1 each, you'd be making 500 million a month. And now you add a zero, you're at 5 billion a month. That'd be $60 billion. And I don't think you could spend $60 billion on content. It'd be very hard. And that's why Disney Plus today had their like Star Wars Day, and they're announcing, and I think they're doing some Marvel stuff too. Or maybe it's an overall Disney Plus thing. Their Disney thing today, I mean, they're announcing like 30 shows or 40 shows. It's unbelievable. And the Obi-Wan Kenobi one, I predict, is going to be some of the greatest Star Wars content ever created. I think it'll be, like Mandalorian, Empire Strikes Back, Clone Wars. Like this is going to be some of the best content Rogue One ever made in the the Star Wars world. So congratulations to the team there.
Give your take on Hayden Christensen coming back.
Okay. Here's my hot take. Hayden Christensen and the actor before them who played very young Anakin Skywalker. We didn't need to see Anakin Skywalker as a kid. That should have just been like the first 15 minutes of the movie. No need for a pod race, whatever. Just show him getting picked up and Darth Maul trying to kill Qui-Gon and Obi. What would have been better? Hayden Christensen comes in, and some of the dialogue was not written properly. I think Lucas maybe not as great at dialogue as some other people. So you needed better dialogue there. Putting that aside, Revenge of the Sith, when he becomes like enraged Anakin and he's been humiliated and he's lost everything and he's out of control and, scared, that actually worked because he's like a scared young man. But when he was like a whiny, teenager and he didn't like sand because it gets in things and it irritates things. Like it's like the guy's Darth Vader. You need a little gravitas here. So it felt like they were putting soap opera dialogue in, but I'm looking forward to him coming back because I think he is actually a good actor. If you ever seen Shattered Glass, this is an amazing movie about plagiarism in journalism, and my friend Peter Sarsgaard's in it. Shout out Peter Sarsgaard. We were in Center of the World together in indie film. You can look it up. I probably shouldn't open those can of worms, but Center of the World, Wayne Wang, Peter Sarsgaard, Jason Calacanis in his first acting debut. I don't even think my producers know about that. So
I've seen the clip.
You've seen the clip.
I have the clip.
You're playing like pickup basketball, right?
I have
There's a couple clips.
I think we all saw the clip, actually.
There's a voiceover. My acting skills.
Hey, I'm Jason
Amazing.
Calacanis. Hey.
I basically played myself. I got a
You're
million
like, what are you
engineers I
doing
can replace
chasing
you
girls
with.
around? Oh, yeah.
Get on
Very
something. Get on something. Oh, yeah. We've seen it.
I just spit out my Coke Zero.
Stop chasing around all these
Oh.
ladies. Oh.
I
Yeah.
got thin guys like you.
Preposterous.
That's incredible.
I should find that right now. It's definitely out there somewhere.
I'm sorry to the audience. It's so funny.
Actually, I don't know if we could play it. I think you might use some terms that are not 2021 appropriate.
Yeah, whatever. You might. I don't even remember. You might believe.
Yeah, it's acting.
I'm
You're
acting.
Right,
I'm acting.
right. You're acting.
I'm acting.
Paid gig.
It was a gig. It was a gig. All right. I was up and coming in the world. I did a gig. Peter Sarsgaard was like, "You should really just go into acting." Like, because what happened was I was coaching Peter and another guy who was going to play that role. When I coached Peter, and before I started talking to the other guy, Peter, who was running through the lines with me, said, "Wow, you're good at this," and he gave me a couple of acting tips. Then he went to Wayne Wang and said, "Listen, can Jason do the thing? I'd be more comfortable just with Jason." And Wayne Wang was like, "Yeah, sure." And then they asked me to be in a scene in a strip club in San Francisco, and I declined being in that scene because it was a pretty intense scene. I'll leave it at that. I didn't want my mom to see me in a strip club in a movie. Might have been a career mistake. I mean, who knows? That could have been my big moment. Is this thing on? Am I still on the air? Crickets?
You're still.
Yes, you are.
All right, here we go. Let's do the YouTube story. Okay, 3, 2. YouTube has removed the dislike counter, thumbs down, on all videos to try and create a more respectful. That's All right, yeah. So they removed the counter, but not the thumbs down button. So
you could still hit the dislike. You just can't see it anymore.
So okay, yeah. The way this reads, it sounds like they're getting rid of the dislike button completely. But we did say counter. It might be a better way to say this. Okay, they're going to change it. 3, 2. Okay, YouTube is changing how voting down works on videos. Instead of you seeing a count of all the votes down, when you click the vote down button, only the creator is going to see that vote down. And they want to do this to make the platform more respectful and to support emerging founders who are getting hit with swarms of people who will vote down their content, not just because they don't like it, but I guess there's some insinuation here that it's bullying or a coordinated attack. Who knows? We live in very charged times. This comes at the same time that Instagram and Facebook starting allowing users to hide the number of likes on their own posts. So I saw this myself on Instagram. It was like, hey, do you want to show likes or not show likes? Do you want to let only your friends comment? So I think this has to do with giving people more power and not making them feel as bad when they use services. So on Instagram, people feel bad about themselves and the number of likes they get. And maybe that affects people in the body dysmorphia area, according to the research, because it's a very visual medium. On YouTube, you have people performing and talking like I am right now. And the votes down is, for a performer, I guess, can make them feel very bad. And maybe they will not want to produce more content, which is a problem for YouTube. So YouTube, I think, has a concern about people, maybe not becoming creators. This is a difficult argument here. According to The Verge, Instagram's Adam Mosseri started the hiding likes, quote, he didn't actually
stated that hiding likes.
According to The Verge, Instagram's Adam Mosseri stated that hiding likes, quote, didn't actually change nearly as much about how people felt or how much they used the experience as we thought it would. But it did end up being pretty polarizing. Some people really liked it and some people really don't. In a blog post on Wednesday, YouTube announced they were removing the dislike counter to, quote, ensure that YouTube promotes respectful interactions between viewers and creators. So the term of art apparently is brigading. So these are downvoting groups, and so they will, like on Twitter, the ratio and concept, slightly different. I'll explain in a second. You can hit the dislike button. Here's what it's going to look like if you're watching the show. So you'll see a number next to the votes up. So everybody gets a medal, everybody gets a cookie, everybody, participates, but you don't share with the public what the audience actually thought of your video. I kind of like this. I do think that the brigading is, I'm sure that's that's an issue on the margins, and people will brigade for other reasons. It's kind of part of the price you pay for allowing people to say what they think. And, the comments can be particularly difficult on people, especially if people are attacking other people about their appearance or whatever. And so they've removed some of those comments. And I noticed that commenting is getting better on YouTube. I think they're making it harder to make burner accounts or easier to report, or maybe they're pretty light trigger on removing a comment when it is reported and it has some negative sentiment. Doesn't come as much of a surprise. In March, YouTube announced a small experiment where they hid dislike counts on select videos. And here is what YouTube's head creator liaison, Matt Koval, had to say on the dislike button. It's a 50-second clip, and I will see you on the other side.
I've always thought seeing the number of dislikes on a video helps us know as viewers if it's a good video or not, if it's a helpful tutorial or not, or if what a creator is saying in their video is generally agreed with or not. But unfortunately, research teams at YouTube have found there's this whole other use for disliking a video that I had never experienced as a creator, and you may not have either. Apparently, groups of viewers are targeting a video's dislike button to drive up the count, turning it into something like a game with a visible scoreboard. And it's usually just because they don't like the creator or what they stand for. That's a big problem when half of YouTube's mission is to give everyone a voice.
Okay, there you have it. Certainly good intent. There might be second order impacts here that are not good. I have to say, I like a little rough and tumble. I like the dislike button because I feel as content creators, if you want to evolve, you do need to get some negative feedback. You do need to, get some, negative feedback in order to grow. And it's tough. But, if you're a comedian, you have to go play comedy clubs where nobody knows you and it's a different group of people and you're at a disadvantage. It's not your friends and your fans in the audience, and you're going to bomb. And that helps you sharpen your knife, right? If you bomb, you really get motivated to make better content. If you get booed off the stage, that's what the thumbs down button is. It's kind of a way for the audience to boo you. I don't know. It feels soft to me. I got to be honest. I don't like it. I like being able to vote something down if I disagree with it or I think the content is lame. I would have done this as you can opt into this. So if you have a political channel, you can turn off likes and dislikes on it, right? I guess, or turn off view counts. But YouTube makes these decisions generally in what's in their best interest and what's in alignment with their mission. And their mission is to grow the creator base and allow people to express themselves. So I kind of think like this is the best decision for them. I don't think it's the best decision for the users. So if I was thinking about the users, I like the users having this ability to give like a massive, vote of no confidence. I would like to see this on other platforms as well. I like the vote down, and apparently Twitter is doing vote downs. The way you do this kind of voting down mechanism and you show your discontent with the content is by ratioing it. So you don't star it, you don't retweet it, but you do comment. So what that means is people don't want to amplify this tweet. They're like, yeah, this is not worthy of me sharing with my audience or me hitting the like button or hearting it. But I will respond to you and tell you how bad your tweet is. And so I do have like David Sax's like right-wing folks will come to me and ratio me, and like they love ratioing, the wacky alt-right people who hang on Peter Thiel and David Sax's every word. And then on the other side, like the AOC, liberal, Chesa Boudin, people in San Francisco, they're all like crazy socialists. Like they love to ratio you, and it's just gross. But it's a good feedback mechanism, I think. And so I like it. But the world is soft. I mean, as somebody just said in the chat room, but I think it'd be good to have a vote down. I would love to see the vote downs on Twitter. I'd love to have a list of the most voted down. And by the way, I think that if these are gangs doing these voting down rings, it's very easy for YouTube to figure that out. All they have to do is look at all the voting down rings, and they look at the users who voted something down like in a gang kind of way, and then they could see that they have a pattern of also doing that to other videos. And then you just take all their votes and you do what's called in the industry neutering them. Clip. They have no impact. They don't count. They think that their votes are counting because when they go to the site and they click the downvote, it goes up for them and it shows them their vote, but it doesn't actually register it. So you kind of, it's like the madman technique. You basically make people lose their minds because they're commenting and they're voting something up or down, and they see it on their version of the website. So they actually see their, toxic comment. They see the vote up and down, but the public doesn't see it. So they would have to open another browser to see that their stuff isn't up there. And so they might go for a year, harassing somebody on a blog or on YouTube or whatever. And they think that their message is getting through and nobody's seeing it. It's like they're yelling into the void. It's like sending Zod into the forbidden, whatever the glass was in Superman 2. All right. All right. Next up on the program. Is this next up on the program?
David Benham. Yes, it is.
All right. Next up on the program, David Benham, who is doing some really cool gaming and NFT and avatar work for the metaverse. Stick with us.
Great. Your intro's up top, and then we'll do a quick OK Boomer with Rachel.
Okay, great. All right, 3, 2. Okay, we got a lot to cover today. First up, I'm going to show you the greatest CNBC hit of all time and what is destined to become a top 5 video, perhaps even Mount Rushmore top 4 video in the history of live television. It's the greatest CNBC hit of all time. And I got it, speaking of CNBC, I got a nice shout out from Tech Check. And I got a nice shout out from Tech Check's John Fort. And finally, I'll talk about YouTube and how they're hiding the downvote counter. Very interesting. And then David Benaham is on the program. He's from Ready Games, and he's talking about his new fashion NFT marketplace game called Icon, and how we're going to transition from a closed or semi-closed wall garden, hedge garden in Web 2 to a distributed Web3 open source world. It's a really interesting conversation about the future of NFTs, mobile, and the metaverse. Stick with us.
And we're going to wrap with another edition of OK Boomer.
Oh, and 3, 2. And it's Friday, so we're going to wrap with another edition of OK Boomer. Rachel is reporting on Emily Herrera, a 22-year-old who started her own angel syndicate while still in college. Stick with us.
And you're going to react to the interview from
we don't have to do everything.
All right.
I mean, how long do you want the intro to be? I mean, it's a pretty long one here.
I thought that was the big hook, though.
Oh, okay. Hold on. 3, 2. And I am going to react to the word salad nonsense from the snowflake that Rachel reporting had on OK Boomer segment last week.
Nice.
All right.
I'm going to pull OK Boomer.
You can turn comments off, by the way, on YouTube, I believe, but I don't think they would make that. Yeah, they love commenting is like a huge part of their ecosystem. They would never turn it off.
How did you feel about this week's segment versus last week's?
Well, I mean, you had one last. Let's not leave it in the dugout. You're gonna leave it in the dugout. Don't leave it there. All right.
Rachel, can you double confirm that your QuickTime is running?
My QuickTime is at 1 minute and 37 seconds now. 1 second, I just see.
Where is Rachel reporting in the list? I see the stuff up top, the links up top, but I don't see it in the links up top. So is it at the end of this document?
Nope. I moved it all the way up to right below the intro. Here, let me move the intro down so it'll be right at the top.
No. It's fine if it's where the intro is. Hold on. Okay. Hey, everyone. Okay, Boomer. I'm there. Okay. Got it. Okay. Perfect. Okay.
So first.
3, 2.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, good. I was about to start the show.
I was going to say, just react to the interview from last week. And actually, let me put the episode number there so you can direct people to the interview itself. And then tee up the interview from this week. Then we'll play a 2-minute clip so everyone live can see.
You didn't give me any data about last week, the guest name, the company name.
Gotcha.
Just give me like a couple of bullet points to tee it up. Or Rachel to tee it up.
Juve Consulting is how you pronounce it. Juve Consulting. Ziada.
You didn't write anything about what he said, like just a couple of bullet points. Oh, there it is. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's the CEO of Juve Consulting. Like I think emotional labor.
Yep.
And then there was something else. I think he threw in a self-care.
There's a lot of self-care talk.
Where's the clip for of?
What's your favorite self-care, Justin? How are you self-caring? How are you gonna rebound from just a brutal week working for me? What do you got this weekend? How are you gonna recover from the arduous week you had and the emotional labor you put forth for the show?
Did you ask me what my self-care?
Yeah. What's your self-care going to be? Share with us how you're gonna make yourself like some bespoke artisanal cocoa.
No, I'll probably
outside in the cold.
Try to get a good Peloton in.
Okay. You can get your sweat on for your self-care. I like it. All right.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 3, 2. All right, welcome to another edition of OK Boomer. And by another edition, I mean the second. Rachel reporting is with me again for our weekly Friday segment where she, as a member of Gen Z, explains to me as a member of Gen X and a representative of boomers everywhere. And we talk about how Gen Z looks at the world. Welcome back to the program. Rachel reporting. How are you, Rachel?
Hi, I'm good. Sorry if you hear my dogs in the background.
Quite all right. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody's working from home. And if you don't love dogs, there's something wrong with you. Dogs rule. All right. So last week you had this guy, Ziad. He's the CEO of Juve Consulting. Talked about a lot of weird words, episode 3020. Any reaction from him or people on Twitter?
1320.
Episode 1320, if you want to look it up by number in your podcast player. Rachel, what was the feedback on social media or from your guest or generally the fans of the show in the Slack and other places?
definitely in the Slack, I got some messages. It was kind of mixed between people asking me how I thought the interview was versus them
Okay.
giving me their own opinion.
Got
And
it.
I think some people were kind of surprised to hear his point of view because I don't necessarily think that Gen Z people are very open about how they would run a company because
Hmm.
to be quite frank, I don't think there are very many Gen Zs that are founders or CEOs that are that public yet, just because we are a little bit younger of a generation. I would consider like on Twitter, I normally see more like millennial founders. So I got a lot of people in my Slack that were
Got it.
older than me coming in and just being like, is this really what like all of Gen Z thinks? Like, is he a representation of like the whole generation? And I don't think he's a representation necessarily of the entire generation, but I
Hmm.
do think he had interesting points to make about Juve Consulting, his own company.
So what did you think of the interview when you look at it as a
Mhm.
member of Gen Z? And he comes on, and let's face it, he presented a version of Gen Z that I think that they need to be coddled. They're emotionally weak. They need to get credit for their emotional labor, whatever that
Mhm.
is, and they need to partake in self-care and generally, be really protected from getting bumped and bruised. What was your take on the interview and his take on Gen Z?
Yeah, so I definitely see where he's coming from. I think of bringing politics to work. That's just not something that I would do personally.
Mm.
I very much compartmentalize my work life versus like my life at home. And that doesn't mean like I'm making all my social media private. Like I still follow coworkers and things like that. But during the hours of 9 to 5 or whatever hours we're working,
Yeah.
the conversations that I'm having with my peers aren't really focused on what I'm doing like during my
Yeah,
time outside of work.
he
So that's I think where
specifically
we differed the most.
he specifically was like the anti Coinbase, which is like you have to bring your politics, you have to bring your
Yeah.
whole self to work. And when I hear you have to bring your whole self to work, I'm like, do you? Do you really? Like, does the person who works, at the drive-through window at In-N-Out, or does your accountant, when they're doing your taxes, have to bring their whole self to work and by extension impose that on the coworkers and the customers, right?
Mhm.
And you could just be an accountant and do a pretty good job at that. And like, if I'm an accountant and I'm in New York and I love the Red Sox, like you don't need to put that in everybody's face. Or you live in Trump, county and you're a Democrat and you got to bring like your Go Hillary stuff to, work every day. Like it's unnecessary.
So I was thinking about it, and the amount of like hours you're working during your life are extremely high. So I don't necessarily think I'm bringing my entire self to work because obviously I just don't think I would be as productive during my day if I talked to my coworkers about how much, for example, like I love the new Taylor Swift album that just dropped. Like that's not a productive work conversation. But at the same time, like I'm spending so many hours a day trying to create quality work. I would hope those people that are also trying to create quality work are people that I could see as friends as well as coworkers.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a lot different than like my friends outside of work. But I see what he means, how you would want like the people you're working with to not just be people that are engaging in your life 9 to 5 that like you just deal with. You want them to be people that you can have a conversation with and like hang out with.
And
I think
here's
it'd
the
be
great
pretty,
part.
you
Like
know?
you can pick and choose that like
Mhm.
very selectively. Like when I went to work in the 90s, you went to work because you needed money and you had a skill. So you traded a skill and labor for money. And it had nothing to do with like my emotional state or my emotional labor or being validated. Like they needed shit done and I had the skill to do it. And we transferred money for the task, essentially. And so maybe people, I don't know. When I hear this, I think people need to grow up a little bit and like your emotional labor, like what does this even mean, emotional labor? What does that mean to you? And did that part of I think that was the part that I kind of was just like, oh, enough. I don't know. It was like, I'm so not regretting starting this. This is like every week I'm going to get to have this moment, although not this week.
Yeah.
But the emotional labor thing, speak to that. Like, is that
So-
something you believe in? And explain to the audience what that really means.
So he explained it as emotional labor is kind of the feeling of, when you break up with your significant other and you have that feeling like, oh my gosh, that was a lot of hard work, even though it wasn't really work at all. It was just emotionally very taxing, and how feelings like that can occur in like the work setting and how it's your employer's job to kind of like see over that. I don't necessarily think it's my employer's job to dictate if I'm happy or not, because for me, that's just like a personal preference that I have. I feel very strong that I dictate my own happiness and I'm in control of how I react to things. But at the same time, I think being as a Gen Z, I know very well that we have so many options for work. So if you're not happy at your employers, you can quit. And there is a ton of other opportunities out there, I think, especially with the internet and how savvy we are, to make just as much money as you are in any job on your own. So I think it puts employers at a really weird place where it's kind of like, it's not your job to make me happy. But I think that employers need to know that if somebody, especially a Gen Z, isn't happy in their role, it is so much easier for them to quit because of the opportunities.
See, I like
that
I
are
like the way
around.
you've explained that. Yeah. I mean, if it's not fun to come to work, and you have other options, you are well within your right to take another option. Or the one I really respect is I'll see if I can make a go of this myself and be a consultant or something. Or I'll make less money. I'll lower my burn rate and not have to work as much. And, I'll travel more. So I kind of respect that. The emotional labor, I've heard it explained as what you're talking about is like the emotional toll going to work has on you. Okay. Got it. Like, we don't want to be sad at work. We don't necessarily need work to make us happy and, joyful. We have other things in our life to make it joyful, but it shouldn't make us bummed and hate our lives and be like FML. And so I kind of get that too. And I agree with that. But
I think as long as you don't hate your job, I always thought, like, I've had jobs that I hated. And now at this point in life, I'm like, as long as I don't hate my job, I like it. I don't know if
that's a low bar.
Popular opinion, but as long as I'm like content with my job, I feel like that's a really good situation. Unpopular opinion.
I think that's a good baseline. The thing you really should say is, how much am I learning and how much responsibility am I being given? I looked at every job as, am I learning? Is my network growing? And am I increasingly getting more responsibility from Mike Savino or Elliot Cook or whoever was managing me at the time? I only had like 2 jobs, I think.
Yeah.
But that's all I cared about. Can you give me more responsibility?
Like
Can you give me, am I learning? And look, you've been here for a couple of months. You're doing a great job
in
at
learning.
It, so.
I always thought of it, actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because during the pandemic, like I think most 2020 grads, I applied to grad school because everybody under the sun applied to grad school because they waived all the test requirements. So it was really easy. And they waived fees to apply to grad school. So my thing was, if I can get a job where I'd learn more than I would going to the grad program that I got accepted to, then I would skip out on my grad program and I would take the job. And
you
so
get paid as opposed to going in debt. And so,
well, if it depends if I got a scholarship or not. So it's always, always like,
but you have
you got to
living
think about it.
expenses too, I guess. But actually have living, So, but you have living expenses in both cases. So
unless you live,
unless
you with your parents,
unless you have an allowance or a trust fund. So the other interpretation of emotional labor is like the management of your own emotional state and the weight of managing the emotional group of people you're around, whether it's an organization, a family, or a workplace. So the idea would be the fact that you kept everybody emotionally content at work and you contained your emotions, and that was labor. Like just the dealing with one's own emotion as a product of labor. I don't know that there is actually, I'm trying to think out loud here about a job where like you managing your emotion is the job. Maybe acting. I don't know exactly what would be one, but a therapist, when they've got to be empathetic and listen, but also they got to, So anyway, emotional labor I think is like a weird word, but hey, listen, if there's a group of Gen Z who are out like that, I think it is important for founders to know. So I think great success on the first one. Today's is very good, by the way, because I think we're going in an opposite direction. And I don't know if this was intentional in your reporting because you've been picking who you want to speak with, and I'm giving you that challenge of, hey, find us something interesting to talk about each week. But this is somebody who is doing the opposite of crying in their coffee and getting into their emotions and self-care and, bringing their politics to work. This is somebody who's just taking action and putting points on the board in a very impressive way. Tell us about today's guest.
Yeah, so Emily Herrera, she is a 22-year-old Northeastern University student, and she is just super incredible. She is the founder of a Gen Z-focused syndicate and women-focused syndicate. It's called The Virus, and I was just blown away by her. I actually found her from reading a Business of Fashion article, which is not necessarily a article that I even read for work. I read it like on my free time. And I went to go message her because I was like, I need to have this girl on the show. And I realized that we were already connected on LinkedIn because this girl, anybody that has venture capital, this woman,
Let's start over. 3, 2, go.
This woman was so well connected to any other Gen Z that had venture capital in their LinkedIn bio. She was connected with them.
Wow.
And I have never been to Boston. She goes to Northeastern University. I don't even remember connecting with her. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. And I got talking with her and I just had a really good conversation. I was absolutely blown away by her. And I think she also explained how her syndicate operated very well. I was confused how somebody my age could be an accredited investor. And I think that was a really interesting part of the conversation that she covered for everybody.
Yeah, I was really engaged in this one, and I was super impressed with the just relentless drive to get stuff done that she showed, and her fearlessness, the opposite of being, a victim or passive in your life. This is a person who just takes action relentlessly. And I really was genuinely impressed with her passion and her performance. So let's go to the tape, and we'll talk about this interview next week. If you would like to reach out to our producers at thisweekinstartups.com, and you can reach all 3 of our producers, including Rachel, and she hangs out in the Slack room as well, thisweekinstartups.com/Slack, and you can slide into her DMs over there appropriately. People are DMing you now and giving you story ideas. So that's great. And this will take a little bit of pressure off me with the show because we're 5 days a week. Every Friday, we get to have Rachel reporting on something millennial. Do you have an idea of what week 3 and 4 of this will be like? You got anything you want to preview or anything you want to get? Okay. Would you have anything you want to also get feedback on? So tell us. Yeah.
I would love to get feedback on the types of questions I'm asking because I'm not sure if this is the direction that people are interested in. So I think for both of them, I touched a lot on being a Gen Z, and I also touched a lot on their own companies. Which one are people more interested in? Are they more interested in the companies in which they are founding, or are they more interested in them operating just as a Gen Z? So I think the discrepancy between those two things would be great feedback. Yeah. But the 2 guests that were recommended to me are actually mentioned in the episode. So I'm going to wait for people to listen to the episode because Emily actually mentioned 2 people that I'd like to have on in the future.
If you have something about Gen Z that you find interesting, just email producers at or jump in the Slack and you can give us a tip. And just while I have you here, you're also running our community of Founders for Founder meetups. And I saw some exciting news. 2 of our cities completed mission number 2. So explain and give us an update on the meetups.
So meetups are going incredibly well. Some meetups are actually already on meetup number 3, and that is going to be the biggest of the 3 meetups thus far. And for this one, it's going to be extra special because investors, along with founders, are going to be invited to these.
Wow.
And LA, New York City, and now London. So there's actually 3 as of yesterday that are going to be in meetup 3. And we have a ton of questions for you, Jason. So we're going to have to talk after the show because they are crazy excited to start planning.
Well, I think my plan is coming to fruition, which is we told people if you want to do this, you got to be a founder, and only founders are invited for the first 2. And we wanted to have it be Founders for Founders. First one, under 10 people, just have breakfast or something like that. The second mission, have 10 to, I think, 25 people or something, 50 people like at a bar, no agenda, no content, but it has to be all founders. And we check the RSVP list, make sure it's all founders. And then the third one, we said, hey, we'll let you make some content, but we want to consult with you. And the reason we did that was we wanted to build a relationship and some trust with these founders. And New York, LA, and London, I mean, these founders who are organizing these are doing a great job.
Oh, yeah. They're being incredible. And all of them are so forward thinking and are on top of it. And once you get past meetup 2, once you're at meetup 2, then you have control of your Notion page. Your organizing founders do. So if you did attend any of these meetups, your photos, by the way, are posted over there. So they've just been a real pleasure to work with.
So this is a key thing. As people perform, and they follow the basic philosophy of what we're trying to do here. It's not a marketing sales event. It's for founders, by founders, and we're going to have investors come to some. But if they can follow the instructions and are aligned with us in what we're trying to do here, which is it's not a marketing sales event for service people, et cetera, and it's not just general networking, it's more focused. then we'll give them more control. So with great power comes great responsibility. So now they can edit the Notion page at thisweekinstartups.com/London/LA/New York, correct?
Yep. It'll be Los Angeles, London, New York City.
Great.
DC, by the way, is DMV because it's actually DC, Maryland, Virginia. I got some questions about that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fantastic. And, hopefully we set a goal of having 10 of these up and running this year. And I think we're at that goal. And then next year, we're going to try to, at the end of the year, have 100 cities having meetups every month. And, if 100 people or 1,000 people come to each one, oh my Lord, we're going to have 10,000, 100,000 people every month meeting up with the show as a great platform for doing that and helping grow these communities. So we'll see you. Here's Rachel's interview, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
We also have a 2-minute, 30-second clip to play for the audience as like a little teaser for the interview.
Oh, and here's a teaser for my noties. Go ahead. 3, 2, go.
I'd love to talk to you more about your syndicate, the Wirus. How did you actually find those first couple backers? Because I feel like that would have been incredibly difficult, just not only as like a woman, but also in Gen Z. And how did you go about that?
Yeah, I'm in a really specific situation where Wirus mostly started as a newsletter for random opportunities to get involved in other women's side projects on campus. And long story short, I ended up joining a student fund, and I realized a lot of the women didn't really know each other super personally. They weren't super in touch in what they really wanted to invest in rather than the student fund that they were working for. And I just wanted to workshop with them one-on-one on it. And I found that a lot of women saw that theme where they're like, wait a minute, there's not a lot of us, and we kind of like the way that each other work and think. And I was super blessed that my first couple of backers or introductions to their managers and their managers to back the syndicate were homegrown from Wirus, which was incredible. And I definitely was not intentional. But so my first few were managers of some of the women that were in the community who were working as interns and as analysts. And they were really crafting especially the analysts, they were really crafting their personal thesis, and they would bring it to their managers, and their managers were like, oh my God, like I never thought as an entry-level analyst that I would think about an investment thesis. And from that, I just got I was so blessed to have so many intros, and so many people were really excited about the idea of just women taking ownership of what they want to put themselves towards. But I have a mixture. I have people who just graduated Wirus who want to put, $1K, $2K checks into the kinds of stuff that we are interested in. And then also a lot of parents are super passionate about it. Previous founders. It really spans a lot, but I give my biggest shout out to like the first core 20 individuals that brought their theses to their managers. My managers were like, what the heck? Like, I never thought that someone in this age group would be this interested. So that's the super long story short, is it just started off mostly with Wirus alumni and their managers.
All right, there you have it. What do you think, Noties? We're going to be doing more segments, by the way. We've got OK Boomer. We Live in the Future, which we just did, the VTOL sports bikes. We're going to be doing a new segment around... What are the other segments we're going to do, Nick?
Startup of the week.
Startup of the week.
Startup you should look out for. Startup of the week. Yeah.
Startup of the week is coming, so that should be interesting. And then we're going to do Guess the Fake Startup. So there's like 4 segments we'll have in rotation. And when Molly Wood gets here, which will be great in the beginning of January, she'll start the first week in January. Molly will have, I'm sure, some ideas about interesting segments, because that was a big part of what she did at Marketplace and Make Me Smarter and the other shows they had over there. Was, she has a lot of ideas and experience making this kind of content. So very excited about that as well. All right. How stoked are you all in the chat room for Molly Wood joining us co-host in January? Anybody a fan of Molly Wood out there? Obviously, she's on the program a bunch of times and has over 100,000 followers, is super smart. And for people who are asking, she'll be spending half her day doing the podcasts and half the day investing with me in climate companies. So we're going to be focused on climate and energy companies. That was the conversation I had with her. She said she was still passionate about media, She said she was passionate about the climate. And if you've seen her amazing series, How We Survive, she did a great job on that. And she'll be coming to cover that area for us for investing and to be on the show, talk about startups. So it's going to be pretty neat. We may do a segment where about her, Nick, learning how to become an interviewer, how to become an investor. So Molly learning how to be an investor from Jason. I don't know exactly, or maybe just learning how to do it, because she's going to get, I'm sure, a lot of coaching and feedback from a lot of people. But I don't know how to name that segment, but we should start thinking about that. So, every other day or every 2 or 3 days, I say, hey, tell me, how's learning to be an investor going?
Copy.
Okay. I think we're done, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. We'll see everybody tomorrow. All In is taping at 2 p.m. today, Pacific time. So that means it'll be out at 1 a.m., I'm guessing, depending on how precious my 2 Davids are.
Depending on how many edits there are, yeah.
I mean, it's always the 2 Davids. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We need to have more science. No, more politics. Well, we have too much politics. We need more science. No, there's too much. Nobody cares about the science of politics. Like, guys, Chamath and I are just like, guys, it's the number 61 podcast in the world when it comes out on iTunes. Like, it's top 100 podcast or 200 podcast on Spotify. Like, I'm just like, guys, we're 54 episodes in. We're a top 100 podcast in the world on the days we publish. Like, there's not much better you can do. We're up against like the largest publications and networks in the world, biggest stars in the world. People have been at it for 10 years, 20 years. Like, just show up for the show. The end.
Yeah. It's weird too, because there's a very strange, like, it's not a normal show in the sense that, like, and this show has a little bit of that too, but you have to strike a very fair balance between what people want you to talk about and what you all think that everyone should be thinking about, right? Because part of the show's what makes it special is you're telling people, hey, look out for this. Right. So maybe it's not the most trending story, but it's something you should be looking out for over the next 3 weeks, the next 3 months, the next 6 months.
Yes.
And it's a tricky balance to strike between what should you react to in the news, like, a Zymergen implosion, or, hey, here's something that dropped, like the AlphaFold, right? When AlphaFold, Freeberg was so early on that, and he's like, just look out for this. You're gonna hear more about this in 2 years, but you should start thinking about it now. So it's really interesting to try and work with them on balancing the stories out. That's my favorite part of it by far.
Yeah, I think science, markets. I mean, you tell me in the chat rooms, what topics do you come for? I think the inside baseball on our industry, tech and capital allocation,
that's my favorite part,
and markets is the best part of the show. I think talking about science is like just double clicking a little deeper and unpacking technology startups, right? Because startups usually have some science background. And so that's kind of like really cool. And I think when politics and pop culture come into play, pop culture that relates in some way to business, markets, or the other topics. So the core topics of business, capital allocation, technology, markets. Is there a pop culture angle like the Chappelle special that talked about Netflix, right? And freedom of speech online and any number of issues. And politics, I feel the same way. So when politics impacts markets or startups, taxation impacts that, yes. But to talk about Afghanistan or, talk about the January 6th insurrection, like January 6th insurrection in relation to Facebook, okay. January 6th insurrection, insurrection or mob behavior, like just to dunk on Nancy Pelosi or to dunk on Trump is just, I don't know. I find it super boring. You can get that anywhere, but I think Sachs wants to be Tucker Carlson, so it's like,
oh, well, enough.
I think he does.
No cheap shots.
I'm just saying. I think he wants to be. He's got 5. He just announced 5 politics shows on his app. So good for him. Like do you can. You're going to have 50 politics shows over there. Like that tells you something about the value of political commentary. Okay.
Zen Prophet asks, what percentage of All In is edited out each week? Almost
you tell
0.
Me.
No,
Yeah.
almost zero.
Almost zero.
Last week we had a segment, a very short segment cut that I think you're actually going to address.
We'll
week.
address the cut. It was a 15-minute
Yeah.
cut, and we'll
Yeah.
address it on today's show. And
But
why.
almost
It wasn't
almost
my
zero on a
decision.
typical episode. No,
It wasn't my
your
decision to make the cut. I fought to not make the cut. But we have a rule: if anybody wants anything cut, they have a veto right, because people have a lot at stake, obviously, and we want people to go for it in terms of opinion. So in order to have that kind of a culture where you can try stuff on the pod, you do also have to have the ability for people to make a clip if they went too far in their opinion, or it might cause some fallout in their life, right, or some legal issue, whatever. Not that was this. And so we will explain why the people who wanted it cut have changed their position on it. So